Happy birthday, Jones Act. Or is it happy anniversary? It's kind of weird to celebrate the birthday or anniversary of an inanimate object, let alone a piece of legislation. But this June 5th marked the 100th anniversary of a piece of legislation known as the Jones Act, named for Senator Wesley Jones of Washington. More appropriately, it's called the Merchant Marine Act of 1920. And I'm starting a series that's going to discuss the Merchant Marine, the Jones Act, and provide some more context and history to a piece of legislation that has inspired a lot of controversy over the years. And I'll give you the background on that. My name is Sal Mercogliano. I'm an associate professor of history at Campbell University in North Carolina. I am not a paid lobbyist. I don't work for an advocacy group. I don't work for a shipping firm. I don't work for a think tank. I am a tenured professor who had a career in the Merchant Marine. Graduated from the State University of New York Maritime College, sailed for 3 years with the Navy's Military Sealift Command. That is an entity within the United States Navy that employs merchant mariners. I then worked ashore for them for 4 years. At the end of my 7 years working with the government, I decided to leave and embark on an academic career. I received a master's in maritime history and nautical archaeology from East Carolina University. My master's thesis, which was on the role of the Merchant Marine in Vietnam, has been turned into a book published by the U.S. Navy as part of a series on the Navy in Vietnam. I left East Carolina, went to the University of Alabama, got my PhD in military and naval history, and my doctoral dissertation was on the role of the Merchant Marine in national defense. So this is a topic I've studied quite a bit over the years. I've been employed in multiple institutions, including teaching at UNC North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and up at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. I've given talks at the Merchant Marine Academy. I'm an adjunct professor for them. I teach a course in maritime industry policy every other year for a graduate course. But my background to this comes from a very unique perspective. While sailing in the Merchant Marine, I took part in the first Persian Gulf War. I was third mate on board the hospital ship Comfort. And it was during that operation that I saw the absolute ability of the United States, along with its allies, to deploy a force of over 500,000 men and women halfway around the world to the Persian Gulf in a period less than 6 months. And it made me very inquisitive of the entity I belonged to, which was the American Merchant Marine. I sought out information on it, reading about it, and I didn't find a lot about it. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of got interested in researching this topic. I wanted to know more about it, particularly the military aspect of it, that role that the Merchant Marine plays in national defense. And so that's been my career path ever since. Come to the more immediate future, in December of 2018, I saw that the CATO Institute was hosting a panel on the Jones Act. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Jones Act is the Merchant Marine Act of 1920. That is a piece of legislation that I'll go into more detail about, but it's a very controversial one today because what basically exists of the Merchant Marine Act, and the controversial aspect of the Merchant Marine Act today, is a section called 27, which deals with the fact that coastal trade, what's referred to as cabotage, has to be carried on U.S.-built ships, U.S.-flagged vessels, U.S. crewed vessels, and U.S.-owned vessels. So to be able to carry cargo between American ports, you have to meet all four of those criteria. And the CATO Institute, which is one of these think tanks in Washington, D.C., decided to have a panel on it. I saw the lineup for the panel on it. I thought it was interesting. And I even sent a note to the organizer of the panel commenting the fact that I didn't think they had anyone really pro-Jones Act on it. The group that I saw in there was going to be pretty much against the Jones Act, which is perfectly fine. If that's the type of panel you want, you're allowed to have it. The organizer of it, Colin Cabral, was very nice. Asked if I wanted to attend, even offered to pay for me to come up and attend the conference, which I thought was great. Couldn't do it because of the time frame and the timing associated with that, so I didn't attend. But I did decide to write an editorial piece that was published in Captain that talked about the historical precedence of the Merchant Marine Act of 1920. Why was it basically done? That garnered a response from CATO, and has started a long 2.5 year long relationship between us of going back and forth on this. It usually happens on Twitter. And for those of you who are not on Twitter, first of all, good job, stay off. It's terrible. but it's very hard to have a conversation when you're restricted to 240 characters. And so I thought, I've written a lot of pieces on this. I've written extensively on it, but even some of the writing doesn't go into the depth and detail I really want. So I thought I'd just do these quick videos, 10, 15 minutes, and talk about the historical proceedings of the Merchant Marine Act of 1920, talk about some issues that are raised by people who opposed the Jones Act, and break them down in more detail, and give you my viewpoint. Why we think having an American merchant marine is so vital and essential to the course of the United States. Why was it important historically, and why is it important today, and why will it be important in the future, which I think is an important topic to look at. Lots of times when we talk about sea power and forces afloat, we tend to talk about gray hulls and navies and aircraft carriers and submarines. We don't talk a lot about the merchant ships. And yet the most frequent vessel on the ocean seas are merchant ships. And the makeup of the world's fleet, the type of cargo moving, the amount of cargo moved has changed immensely, particularly over the past 100 years, from 1920 to the present. And so what I hope to do in this series is really break down that issue, talk about it, and raise some consciousness of it. If I sway you to my opinion, that's great. If I don't, that's fine too. But what I really want to do is get out there and give information. I've been interviewed a lot on this topic, and usually when I give interviews, they get edited down, trimmed, cut to just a bare bones capacity. I did an interview with the Federalist Society for 2 hours, and I think my entire time was cut down to just a few minutes. So I thought I'd take advantage of YouTube, go out there and go directly to you. So what I hope to do is about once a week, put out a video that talks about a specific aspect of the Merchant Marine, specifically the Merchant Marine Act of 1920, and where the U.S. maritime industry is today. And so I hope you follow me. Go ahead and subscribe on my YouTube channel. Hit the bell and you'll be informed when new videos come up. Follow me on Twitter or Facebook, and I'll be posting them on there or LinkedIn. I appreciate the time and opportunity, and I hope to inform you of this vital yet important topic. Thank you.